Just 5 days after surviving an assassination attempt, Donald Trump is set to address the Republican National Convention to accept his party's presidential nomination in a speech designed to unify his party and also the nation.
Now, the 78-year-old will address the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, hoping to build momentum towards a November victory over U.S. President Joe Biden. Trump's speech will mark the climax and conclusion of a massive 4-day Republican rally that drew thousands of conservative activists and elected officials to swing state Wisconsin. Apart from Trump, the most prominent speakers at the 4th day will be former Fox News host Tucker Carlson, wrestling icon Hulk Hogan, who just spoke recently, and Ultimate Fighting Championship President Dana White. Trump appeared each of the first 3 days with a white bandage on his ear, the ear on which he was shot, covering a wound he sustained in the Saturday shooting. Some of his supporters have started sporting their own bandages on the convention floor.
So far, the convention has showcased a Republican Party reshaped by Trump since he shocked the GOP establishment and won over the party's grassroots on his way to the party's 2016 nomination. Trump's rivals have almost vanquished, which includes Senator Ted Cruz of Texas and Marco Rubio of Florida, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and also Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And these are the live visuals from Milwaukee, where in just a short while from now, former U.S. President Donald Trump will be addressing the attendees there. Just a short while ago, his son, Eric Trump, addressed the crowd in Milwaukee. Well, according to reports and people close to the Republican Party, Trump is expected to send a message of unity. And he earlier said that his speech, that he had rewritten his RNC speech after the assassination attempt on the former U.S. president just 5 days ago.
And Resha, of course, on the screen right now, we have J.D. Vance, who's the vice presidential candidate for the Republicans. And of course, his address happened just yesterday. And that is sort of a glimpse into what we can expect from Trump's address, which is expected to start just moments from now.
And well, for more on this, joining us on the show, we have with us political analyst and radio show host Garland Nixon, live from Maryland, U.S. Welcome to World DNA, sir. Now, Trump is just about to address the RNC in just a short while from now. And he said that he has rewritten his RNC speech and would rather offer a message of unity. What can we expect from his speech? Any big revelations, in your opinion?
No, I think that we probably can't expect big revelations. I think we can expect a message of unity, a message of strength from Donald Trump. I think he wants to show stability. He's going to be quite welcome. I think Donald Trump wants to come out as the adult in the room. We've been listening to his son and various other people who have tied all of the things that have happened to Donald Trump over the last several years, including, being accused of being a Russian agent. He's been faced numerous investigations and lawsuits, and they actually tied that to the assassination attempt on him last week. I think we can see we can expect to see Donald Trump to come out as the responsible adult in the room. I think that's the position that he wants to take. Donald Trump has a history as an entertainer, a history in television. So I think he understands the importance of the narrative and the importance of how he looks here. The opposing party is pretty much in disarray, and I think Donald Trump is going to work to show stability more than anything
Mr. Nixon, now there was a lot of, there have been reports and analysts, people have been thinking about this and saying it too, that there have been some changes, or there would have been some changes in the past 5 days, ever since that failed assassination bid, in Trump's speech. If you were to think about how he could have altered his speech, how would you consider, what are the changes do you think Trump would have made to those speeches that he's expected to make today?
Well, Donald Trump tends to be brash. He tends to be aggressive, and his style tends to be an attacking style, to go after his enemy. I would have expected him to go after Joe Biden, to go after Kamala Harris on their records, to single them out, to single out the difficulties that the country has had during the Biden administration in an aggressive and assertive way. I don't think Donald Trump's going to do that now. He has said, in fact, something that I believe, and that is that, having an experience where your life was threatened changes you. So I think a combination of the experience changing the way that Donald Trump looks at the world, and the disarray in the party, as we're hearing even today that Joe Biden may have less than a few days left as the nominee. Again, I think he wants to show that his party is stable, that he would provide a stable administration and a stable guiding hand for the country. I would suspect that that's going to be his angle.
Yeah, Mr. Nixon, I just want to take from what you just mentioned that, and of course we all know that Donald Trump has been a little brash and a little aggressive in his ways. As of now, given the way he exited the stage on that day in Pennsylvania, and he, pointed towards the camera, that photograph which we'll be seeing for ages, and saying fight, 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 and echoes of that we also heard in the earlier days of the RNC with all the Republican supporters, echoing in unison, fight, fight, fight. We've heard those chants. Do you feel that entire brash approach or that kind of aggressive approach is going to go in his favor now, because when you see that entire body language after a failed assassination bid, it changes everything?
Yes, but I do believe that he'll have kind of dual messages. The message that he will have for his immediate supporters will be one of, we have to fight back against the Democratic Party. He argues that the party is is attacking the culture, the foundation of what he sees as America, and what his followers see culturally and spiritually as the foundation of America, patriotism, etc. So I think he's going to make the message to his supporters that they need to fight back against their adversaries. But I think, keep in mind, he has to appeal to people who aren't Republicans. He has to appeal to the independents. So I think there will be dual messages. I think there will be something in his speech for his foundation, for his base, but I think there will also be something in his speech for the independents and for those that he has to attract outside of the party.
And Mr. Nixon, it does look like that the Republican camp slogan of Make America Great Again has now taken a shift towards Make America One Again. How do you assess Trump's speech, which we will just hear in a short while from now, uniting Republicans and Americans on one hand, while on the other, the Democrats are bitterly divided about whether Biden should continue to lead the Democrat ticket or not?
Well, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that prior to the assassination attempt, Donald Trump was leading Joe Biden in most of the battleground states and most of the areas that he needed to win. So he was predicted to win prior to the assassination attempt. So to some extent, he can maintain the course and speed that he was going on a lot of the issues. Donald Trump will definitely go strong on immigration, in that is dealing with immigration is a popular issue. I think he also understands right now that our economic situation is uncomfortable for the working class. So I think you can see a strong appeal to the working class. I just don't think that he will use the same type of frontal attacks on his opponents that he normally does. Additionally, since many people feel that Joe Biden will be gone before the end of the weekend, I think he's going to start to go in another direction as far as Kamala Harris and other Democrats that he goes after. I don't think it'll be as much about Biden as the individual as it will about the failures of the Biden administration politically overall.
Mr. Nixon, now if I were to just go over J.D. Vance's address, which happened just yesterday, of course, he did mention a few things. One was, of course, regarding China, that, how China is building its middle class on the backs of American people. And another reference, of course, was to, NATO, where he said there are going to be no more free rides. And, of course, I wanted to understand from you, when it comes to America's internal and external policies, in Trump's reign, how do you feel? Because whatever J.D. Vance said, it's a prelude to what we are expecting to hear from Trump today. What can we expect in Trump's term if he comes back to power next?
Well, I would advise people to, because keep in mind, J.D. Vance is the vice president, and in our particular system, the vice president doesn't have much power. The president has all the power. I would advise people, yes, to listen to J.D. Vance's speech, but also to read. There was a speech. There was a an interview of Donald Trump in Bloomberg about 2 weeks ago, and I think you can get a lot from that speech. In that speech, one of the things that Donald Trump said very clearly is that he does not want any more wars. He actually talked about China and he said, well, you know, there's some issues economically, but he actually spoke fondly of the leader of China, President Xi. So I think under a Trump administration, what you can see would probably see is far less militarism, more diplomacy, less of a threatening military stance that the threatening military stance that the Biden administration has taken, and more of a focus on dealing with other countries through the lens of how it helps to rebuild the industrial base in America. So I think that his focus is going to be rebuilding the industrial base of America, and protectionism and tariffs, et cetera, old school, old fashioned protectionism. Whether that works in a financialized economy such as this, that I can't tell you, but I think you'll see more of diplomatic and economic maneuvers to confront, as it were, the countries that he sees as adversaries as opposed to military threats.
But Mr. Nixon, while we're about to witness Trump's speech at the RNC after 5 days of assassination, there's also an attempt by both the sides, Democrats and Republicans, to bring the political temperature in the U.S. down. How do you see the campaigning take place for the U.S. polls going forward after Trump's assassination attempt?
Well, basically there won't be, I don't think, in the immediacy, I think there won't be the dirty political attacks and the frontal political attacks on each other, particularly in the context of threats to America. I don't think you're going to see the parties point to the other candidate as a threat to America, a threat to our freedom, a threat to our liberty, et cetera, trying to tie Donald Trump to, Vladimir Putin in a negative way, et cetera. I think you're going to see less of those. It's going to be difficult for the Democratic Party, to be frank, because over the past 4 years, the economic record of the Biden administration has not been good, and during Donald Trump's administration, the his economic record was strong. So if they run on they're going to have to run a lot more on their actual records, which probably benefits Donald Trump, to be frank.
Mr. Nixon, if we were to just compare the two camps at this point, here you have Donald Trump chest thumping, all this, the 5 days of the RNC. We've seen everyone in unison. We've seen how things have changed in the past 5 days. Now, seeing how fast things have totally tipped in Trump's favor and the Republicans' favor in the past 5 days, what do the Democrats need at this point to still be in the race? That is one. And secondly, is it too early to say that Democrats are no longer in the race at all? Or is there still some hope left?
Yes. What do the Democrats need? They need a miracle. They need an absolute miracle at this point for a number of reasons. As I said before, what people have to keep in mind is the Democrats weren't doing well before this. The economic record of the United States was not doing well. One of the things that you hear on the streets, with the common working class person in America, are complaints about the numbers of dollars that have been gone overseas for military confrontations at a time when common working class people are struggling and suffering, and we're dealing with very high inflation. So right now, the Democrats' record of the last 4 years of being a very militaristic party and of ignoring the needs of the working class is simply coming back to haunt them. Now, the Republicans are going to make claims that they're going to address that, and quite frankly, I think they're going to get the opportunity. Things have gone from bad to worse for the Democrats, and of course, they're in total disarray. What we're going to see now is a party in which the ruling elite selects a candidate. The voters will have no input whatsoever because Joe Biden's dropping out. There's no one in second place. So the ruling elite members of the party will simply select someone and ask the voters to support that person. And I don't think that's going to work very well.
Right, Mr. Nixon, thank you so much for joining us in World DNA with your insights. We'll, of course, be analyzing Trump's historic speech at the RNC, which will take place in just a few minutes from now. Thank you so much for joining us in World DNA.
Thank you for inviting me.